You started your career like this is kind of like going back for you personally. And I was just wondering, because you started your career later in life, and what was it that took a hold of you to decide to start exploring the arts? And has this always been a goal for you?
Mm. Well, I've always been a creative person from a young age, but I went into and tried everything that I ever wanted to try and explored all of my interests and my creative outlets. Like straight out of high school, I explored fashion design and didn't real and discovered that I wasn't really into that because you're not really your own boss as a fashion designer. Only a few select people are chosen to be uh, like the top fashion designers in the world, and you're only, I guess, you're in one season, out the next. So I kind of fell away from that. Then I went into acting for a bit, which I worked for a couple of years in Vancouver, and that was great experience. But I wasn't a good actor. I didn't have a good range of and my heart wasn't really in it as well. But then um, around my like mid 20s, I found myself living in a small town with my partner, working for his family's restaurants, and I sort of had a breakdown, and I didn't like working in the service industry, and um, had to reevaluate my life. Uh, so I kind of looked back at what I was doing throughout since high school. I had always had an interest in painting and art. So I thought, okay, this is my last chance. I'll look up the best art school in Canada, which turned out to be Emily Carr University. And at the time, I was also drinking quite a lot. I'm sober now. Got 5.5 years of sobriety under my belt. Um, but back in
Wonderful.
2015 is when I quit drinking for the first time, and then um, entered Emily Carr University sober. Like that's a really long story and a really interesting journey. But um, when I put together my portfolio for Emily Carr, I didn't have any real materials. So I drew um, this chief in a gas mask on the back of a pizza box and painted my first painting of these totem poles. Then I put together this portfolio and sent it into Emily Carr University. And by the end of the summer, or beginning of the summer, I received my entry into Emily Carr University. And from there, I was a very successful student, which I was able to then go on to do my MFA at Columbia University in New York, which then led to my involvement with the Invictus Games. Yeah. That's a
Wonderful.
long story short, believe it.
Yeah, well, that was a really nice brief summary, because I did remember reading a short little snippet with another magazine that you had done an interview with. And yeah, you've gone through quite a generous amount of experiences, right, to get to where you're at, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
And
of
what
very interesting and um, grateful experiences.
Yeah, I really loved that you were so passionate, though. I mean, when you applied for, Emily Carr, and just like, I'm gonna do this, and you just, it didn't matter what types of materials, you're just gathering whatever you can in
Mhm.
order to make that happen, right?
Yes, I needed to follow my own passions, and I was passionate about what I painting and art and being creative and being
Mhm.
able to create from my own person and not having to work for somebody else too. That was a part of it. And
Mhm.
now I'm living the dream.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of that dream, so what were your thoughts when you heard that you would be one of the artists chosen to represent Invictus Games, as well as be the artist chosen to bridge the gap, which was really amazing to me. I hadn't even realized that, but you actually did the painting from for Birmingham, right, from Canada to Birmingham to actually bridge that gap between the upcoming games in 2027. So what was that like for you? What were the thoughts that went through your head?
Mm. Well, to tell you the truth, I was finishing my undergrad in New York at Columbia when I was approached by my nation to apply for this call for artists from Invictus Games, and I had no idea what it was about. So initially I said no, because I'm doing my I'm doing my undergrad project right now. I don't really have time for anything else. But I got an email back saying, I really urge you, Levi, to reconsider this. So on the very last day of deadline, I finally decided, okay, why not? I opened it, kind of read about Invictus Games a little bit further, and said, oh, this is really significant. So maybe I will apply for it. Because at the last moment, I thought, if anybody from my nation is going to design the branding for this significant event, it better be me. In sort of prideful way, but so I put together my portfolio idea and it was accepted. Then there was, I guess, some um, pushback from the other four host nations, or a suggestion that maybe they should have an artist from each nation as opposed to one, because initially the branding was just given to me. And then it was opened up to having to collaborate with three other artists from the four host First Nations. So after we designed the branding identity together for the Invictus Games, it was actually over Zoom. I was in New York on Zoom, and the other three artists were in Vancouver and Robson Street. And we just like sketched out a bunch of ideas, spitballing the idea about the paddles and the canoe and blankets, and what do our four nations have in common. We're canoe people, and what does it mean to work together and pull together in a canoe? So we came up with the branding that you see then. Then the Invictus Games approached me after the branding was released and said, hey, Levi, how would you like to take the reins and be the lead on the medals? And I said I would be very honored. But as the journey of the Invictus Games sort of grew, because we started this in 2023 and up until
Right.
now.
Mhm.
So like 2023 was the year I graduated from Columbia. So it was a 2-year journey, but the closer it got, the more significant it became when I realized what it meant to the veterans involved and them having to overcome their PTSD and using Invictus Games to heal themselves, as well as their families being brought in and them being treated like kings during this entire time. Like, it was very touching to hear their stories and to sort of compare with my own post-traumatic stress from related to my own, like, some of the veterans spoke about their issues with alcoholism and substance abuse and coming back and like using that to mask their PTSD. And, I actually had a near-death experience when I quit drinking. I had a seizure and I was hospitalized, and something a major spiritual, it was a very big spiritual awakening for me, that journey of sobriety, right before entering Emily Carr University. So I was able to see the similarities between them using the games to heal, as well as myself, and the medals that I designed, them receiving them as an award for the events that they competed in, and me and being able to be the catapult for that. It was very symbolic for me in my life, and how this full circle moment came to me to say, like, wow, this is so much bigger than me. This is the cherry on the sundae of all this hard work that I've done over the past 7 years and 10 years now. But
Mhm.
it's been amazing. So the and um I received an email from the British Consulate General, Tom Codrington, to create a work of art that bridges the Invictus Games of Vancouver Whistler 2025 to Birmingham in 2027. And I said no to that too because I was already so busy with the Invictus Games and my own projects. Like I'm always working on my own work as well as other corporate projects for like BC Hydro and Whistler Blackcomb, um, Epic passes. Like there's been a lot of interest in my work, which I've been very grateful for. So I said no to them initially because I said like how do I build a bridge without first seeing the other side? I've never been to Birmingham. I don't think I can do this, so I'll
Mm.
pass. And they said, okay, we understand. We don't have it in our budget to send you to Birmingham. I said, okay. So I'm gonna have to say no, I'm sorry. Then a week or two later, they said, we found it. We found the budget. We're gonna send you to Birmingham. We'll fly you there for 4 days, but you're welcome to stay longer. So I went to Birmingham for 4 days. Um, and then I spent another extra 4 days in London. But on the second day there, I met a fella. I'm two-spirited, and we're still involved today. We talk every day, and he was able to show me Birmingham. He's from Birmingham, so
Yeah.
my uh, earlier on in my career, I turned down a very important email, and it was a very significant amount of that would have helped me out financially and a great deal. And I kind of assumed that it wouldn't be that big of a thing, but it turned out to be, and I sort of kicked myself for that. So that's why this email, which kind of just randomly came from the British Consulate General yeah, of Canada, I decided to read it, and it turned out to be another great branch in my career that
Mhm.
led to something else. Not only
Yeah.
this artistic opportunity, but finding uh, someone who I really, really like as well.
And yeah, and somebody you identify with and relate to halfway around the world, right?
Right. Yeah,
What a great opportunity. Yeah, in so many ways, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should always, I think, if you follow your passions in life, which is what you should always do, it's going to lead you to something that you can't even really imagine how it might even turn out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I so strongly agree with you on that 100%.